Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Berto Willis, your host. Thank you so kind for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As usual, we've got a lot of videos for you today. So I'm going to try to go through them in good sequence, How's everybody doing? I trust everybody's doing just fine. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We could not do this without you. Anyway, let me see if I can get all of my channels up and running. And for now, I am going to start. Okay, there we go. I'm up on Substack. I'm up on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. All right. Okay. Let's see. Welcome aboard E2247. He says, so there's an agreement that there may be an agreement Friday, Juneteenth in Switzerland, that there may be an agreement in another 60 days. After that, the end of U.S. war on Iran. Look, the war is ended. Why did the war end? The war ended because Donald Trump needs to get the Strait of Hormuz open so that the economies around the world won't just crater and everybody realize that it was an imbecile that caused that to do. One man with the ability that just shows you that just shows you that the Western leaders of the world are cowards because that you allow one imbecile the opportunity. Well, of course, he's a front, right? He's a front person. But that you have allowed one imbecile to put the entire world in trouble, it just tells you that all of those folks who are scared to come up against him, who are scared to buck him, are nothing more than cowards. That's what we are made up of, a bunch of cowards in the Western world. You know? And I'm not only talking about the United States of America, because the rest of the world working together could have neutered Donald Trump. Imagine if France and Italy and Great Britain and Germany and all of them got together and said, no, you will not do that. We are speaking with one voice. Couldn't do a darn thing. Imagine if they also looked at China and said, no, you're not going to do that. Period. Punto y final. But they're all wimps. All of the Western leaders are wimps because they allowed this to happen. And all the other countries that don't have the military power that the United States and the Western countries have, because they're the ones who are inflicting this damage on the world, a bunch of wimps. I don't want to hear anything about patriotism or anything from these people because these are just a whole bunch of cowards. All right, let's get busy, folks. Let's get busy. In the Netroots, I have how many am I doing? I think I'm only doing Chris Rabb. No, I'm doing two from Netroots today. Chris Rabb, I did this morning, but I want to first start with a young lady I met there, and she is going to talk about. Her name is. Let me see if I can pull her up. What is her name? I think it's Marianne. Didn't I not do that video? I thought Rosina Amua-Sekyi. That's who she is. Rosina Amua-Sekyi. That's the first one I'm going to play, and she's going to be talking about the abortion issue. So let's go ahead and get busy with that, and then we'll continue con el programa after that. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Para ver. Come on, why are you not moving? All right, let's do this here. I think that's it. Go for it. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis. Today I'm honored to have Rosina Amua-Sekyi. How are you doing, Rosina?
I'm doing so well. I'm very excited to be at Netroots and to connect with all sorts of folks.
Well, yesterday I came into your very large booth and watched the interaction between you and all the other staff in that place. And I can't tell you how warm it made me feel because, again, it's just great to see people interacting like that on even in difficult issues. So anyway, let me ask this question. Your group is a group that deals with abortion.
Yes.
Specifically, what part?
I work for Abortion on Our Own Terms, and we are a national campaign to end stigma, shame, and judgment on those who are having self-managed abortion.
Now, to many, abortion is a bad word.
That's
Okay.
true.
Now, personally, I don't think it is my right. First of all, as a man, and secondly, that your body is not mine.
Thank
Am I
you.
right to tell you what to do. So there are two terms. First of all, I don't have the experience, and secondly, your body is yours. Why is it that you feel that your work is so important, especially in these times?
You know, the work is so important because people have the right to self determination. And that includes when it comes to their reproductive decisions.
Mhm.
I believe so strongly that people have the right to determine what's best for them, whether it's medically, whether it's from a social standpoint, emotional standpoint. People are really best placed to judge what should happen in their own lives. The second reason why self managed abortion is so important right now is we have a dramatically changing legal landscape where folks don't know where to turn. And we want to make sure they know that self managed abortion is an option. You can safely manage your own abortion in the comfort and safety of your own home. And self doesn't have to mean alone. There are a number of resources available, like the M&A hotline, the Repro Care hotline, that can provide people with a plethora of information that they need to have a positive experience. And you can find all of that on our website, abortiononourownterms.org.
Abortiononourownterms.org.
Correct.
Okay, now, first of all, have you gotten stigmatized by this new administration?
I think undoubtedly the new administration has been stigmatizing folks. On the state level, you see a number of groups or parties attacking abortion rights. You see the people being appointed to the courts that are not supportive of autonomy and self-determination. So it's really fomenting and creating an environment where somebody who's seeking care has a hard time navigating that space. And that's what we're seeking to cut through at Abortion on Our Own Terms.
Now, what's the procedure? How do you do that?
The abortion procedure?
No, not the no, not the abortion.
I'm about to say, I don't know. I can't answer all these questions now.
No. I meant how do you affect what you're trying to do here? No, how do you work within the system to help these people?
Well, we're here today with the Stigma Free Zone. And the Stigma Free Zone is an art exhibit that people walk through and observe. And it really offers them the opportunity to consider what they might do for someone that they love if they wanted to support them through a self-managed abortion or a miscarriage. And we just really invite people to think, what items of comfort would you want? What would some of the practical considerations be for an individual? What are some of the physical considerations for an individual? And we kind of put it all together in the idea of a liberatory future so that people can come in and take what they will, learn about who self-manages and why. And we're encouraging people to understand more the laws in their states.
Now, in the 50 states, there's still, for all practical purposes, legalized abortion, correct?
It depends on where you live.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's one of the things that we're encountering right now. I live in the state of Georgia, and in Georgia, abortion is highly restricted. We have other people on our staff who live in Texas, and in Texas, for all suits and purposes, abortion is illegal. So the state of abortion really depends on where you are located geographically.
Now, and I think you may have mentioned this before, but your organization is United States wide.
Yes, we're a national campaign for the United States of America.
And what else are you offering, or what else are you trying to, get into the psyche?
We are definitely trying to shift the narrative and invite people to engage with the culture in all sorts of different ways and in new ways to consider self-managed abortion. We offer a number of workshops for folks in the community to learn about the history of self-managed abortion and the way it's been used historically. We do a number of digital campaigns where we are using stock video and stock image to show people this is not necessarily that, or this is not that scary thing that you're seeing in the media. Right. This can actually be a self-determined and empowered decision.
Well, Rosina,
Amua-Sekyi.
Yes.
Thank you so kindly
Thank you.
for
Thank you
having
so
been in
much.
politics and life.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you
It
today.
was a pleasure of meeting.
Thank you.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Before I get started, I need to speak to E2247. E2247 says the following. I want to get to the first message that he left for me, which was important. He said, Egberto, telling us the war ended is not accurate and is just another 47 talking point. I am dumbfounded you just spouted that misunderstanding slash lie. Forgive me. I beg your forgiveness. If I actually said the war has ended as an absolute, you have every right to call me out because I shouldn't have said it that way. This is the place of truth. You're absolutely right. I meant it figuratively, though. In my heart, I meant it figuratively, brother E2247. But I think that you got it that way and that you called it out immediately. It is very important. You're absolutely right for doing that. Let me just point out something that is important. America is always in a state of war. That is who we are. That is what our defense industrial complex demands that the politicians they support do. And that is exactly what we do. And most wars that we are in, we don't even know we're in because they are covert. E2247, thank you for that call out because I think the subsequent statement that I'm making here is even more important. Even more important. With regards to Iran, however, the idea is quote unquote end of war means the Strait of Hormuz being open. Doesn't mean that Israel and the United States won't continue to summarily bomb Iran in places here and there, and that Iran is not going to summarily retaliate until, well, you get what I'm saying. So I hope that clarifies what I want to say here. Second person I want to address here. Well, before I address that, let me introduce folks. Welcome aboard, Lisa Blair, Atlanta, Georgia, Eric Hayes, King Watascasile 2247, likely from everywhere, Lead Bearcat, Austin, Texas. We also have in the house, Parver. I saw somebody else that I wanted to shout out in here. I think I saw Paul Fleming. Paul Fleming, welcome aboard from Powder Springs, Georgia. Lynette is in the house from Pennsylvania, the traffic cop in there. We also have Mr. K. Joe from La Preciosa de Los Angeles, California. We also have in the house Sky Blue Eyes, Wilfredi Baptiste, Susan Jagoda. Why do I want to say Pagoda? Susan Jagoda, Nilsa Rosado, Tamar Karanik, Judah Gay Lovely, Pamela Gay, Murray. God, so many people. Brittany, ¿cómo estás, mi corazoncita? Brittany is in the house. And of course, la única, la preciosa, Cheryl Elkins is in the house. Cheryl says, we are running the following message today on the bridge. You know, she's with the Bridge Alliance. They go on the bridge and they put signs up, etc. And it says, Iran, art of a bad deal. I like that. I like that. Imagine we would have killed thousands of people. We would have destroyed billions of dollars of infrastructure. And how does how do we come out of this extended war? Want to make sure that I say it right, in a worse state for the world than we entered the war. And I tell you, more now than ever, I don't care what Iran signs. Iran would be stupid not to build its own bomb. I repeat, if I was a sovereign country and I see what was done, in other words, bullies tell me what I can and cannot do, I would be stupid not to defend to put myself in a position where I don't have to be subservient. They have ensured that Iran is going to go deep into some mountain where nobody knows and build an atomic bomb just like North Korea did. And then they will be left to hell alone. Think about it. Who's messing with North Korea? North Korea talks a lot of crap. Do you see anybody messing with North Korea? No, they don't. I said on WBAI last week, and I again said it this week, the only way to stabilize the Middle East is for Iran to get the atomic bomb. Then the bully that is Israel would actually stop its bullying. A lot of people say, oh, no, no, no. And the reason why they say that is we have allowed ourselves to look at Iranians as some crazy Muslims that are ready to kill us all. And we started it when we had, we have implanted in Americans' minds what happened under the Carter administration when the hostage crisis that we had in Tehran. Let me tell you, people, I don't care what country you're from. People are people are people. They love their children like we do. They love their wives and girlfriends and grandmoms and pops like we do. What the media has done is portray and put a stigma on people from all over the world. Do you think even places that we consider oppressive, Saudi Arabia, where women can't drive and all of that? I want to ask you something. Don't you think if it wasn't a cultural thing and women wanted to rebel against that behavior, they would? After all, isn't that what the United States did? I mean, up until the 50s, women here couldn't own a bank account, or maybe it was the 70s, I don't remember. And how much revolution did we have from women in America between the 1800s until they decided we're not going to take that anymore? We have to get somewhat humble in that when people want their complete and entire liberation, they're willing to fight for it. We can't fight for it for them. If folks want certain things, they would. But let's get back to Iran. Iran is a society that is way older than us. They've come up with innovations and inventions and things way before we did as a society. They were a more advanced society before we were called the United States. And to think that somehow we, because now we have the most amount of atomic bombs and everything else can blow the smithereens out of anybody, that we are more cultured than Iranians, or that we are more humane or human than Iranians, or any other country for that matter. That's a figment of one's imagination. You know, I'm from Panama. And many of people in this country, when you say you're from Panama, all they see is what they know of Panama in the days of riots and people fighting each other. They don't see that we have stores, we have malls, we go to church, we go to synagogues, we go to Baha'i temples, we go to restaurants, we dance, we have a good time. And that applies to every single country in the world. So we have to get off that thing about thinking somehow we're going to culturize some other society or civilize some other society. Because we are no more civil than anybody else. In fact, if we measured humanity or humaneness by the death count, the amount of people that one kills, we would be considered a pretty darn evil country because we kill a lot of people. We, the United States of America, we are the ones around the world that kill the most people on a continuum. You see, we are killing people in the Caribbean Sea. We're killing people in the Pacific Ocean. We kill people to get Maduro. We kill people to get we knock off the heads of states in Iran. We do more killing than anybody else. And anybody wants to discuss that, please go ahead. Let's look at the evidence. Let's look at the truth. Let's look at what's really out there. Go ahead and find me another country that kills as much people as we do in the name of democracy. That's why there are times I would say, shoot, I don't want democracy. There's a lot of killing for democracy. And look, I'm not saying, look, I am an American citizen, a proud American citizen who wants to make a better country. And one of the only way one can make a better country is for one to admit the truth and not do what Republicans want to do, and that is hide from the truth. We can't do that. We have to admit that there's a small sect in this country, and it's not a lot, folks. Like I said, people around the world are good people. All around the world, people are good. But you have that sect that are bullies, that are willing to have other people die on their behalfs. And that's the people who control America and have controlled America since its inception. That's why we could go ahead and when we talk about, well, Iran not abiding by a treaty and all that kind of stuff, all of that is crap, right? I would tell, if I were advising Iran, I would say sign whatever treaty can get you as much money as you can right now and go build your atomic bomb. And why would I say that? America has never kept a treaty. We got out of the Paris Accords. All right? We got out of the JPOA. We got out of the Black Hill Mountains with the Indians, with the natives. We got out of the treaties that then created the Trail of Tears. We don't follow treaties, but we get upset. We got out of NATO. Not NATO, not NATO. The treaty between the North Atlantic, not North Atlantic, the free trade agreement between Canada, United States, and Mexico. We do not honor treaties, but we expect everybody else to honor treaties. It would be nice if we did. It would be nice if we could set an example. But you see, because we are the most powerful, we want people to accept when we just drop out a treaty. The idea for continuity is the following, right? If President Carter writes a treaty with another country, it's a treaty sanctioned by the United States of America. If a president like Trump comes in later and says, "Oh, I don't like that. To hell with the treaty. Bye," that takes away credibility and seriousness from the country. And that is what Donald Trump has done in the near term, in the most recent term. But it's not something that only Donald Trump has done. We have gotten out of ballistic treaties. I mean, our word is simply not worth the paper it is written on. And when we can accept that reality that you can research on your own, then we can say, let's make a change of how we've operated over our inception as a country. And by the way, that isn't the fault of Americans. That is the fault of the leadership that we've elected. So it's only our fault in that we've elected a whole lot of criminals from the inception of this country, right? And we just have to try to do better. Let's elect progressives. Let's start doing the right work. All right, Chris Rabb. Oh no, before I go to Chris Rabb, I want to address something here because this is important what Eric said. And I want you to understand this, folks. Very important. Eric said the following: the global economy is a growing pie rather than a fixed pie, meaning wealth is constantly created through innovation, production, and trade. That's absolutely true. He also says, in economics, the idea that wealth is fixed is known as the lump of labor or zero sum gain fallacy. I have never, ever, in nothing that I've ever written or spoken about, discussed the economy as a fixed item, a lump of labor, or zero sum game. Never have I ever done that. When a company like SpaceX innovates, it creates entirely new industries like commercial satellites and launch markets. Now we can start getting into the meat. SpaceX does not innovate. Let's get that clear. SpaceX has innovated absolutely nothing. It has used technologies from other people and aggregated it into something we have done before. Have we ever put a ship in the sky before? Yes. So therefore, them doing the same thing isn't innovation. Have we ever gone around the moon? Yes, we have. So therefore, going around the moon is not innovation. They did it differently. But let me tell you about doing things differently. Let's say I have a patent for something and I do it a little bit differently. There's a good chance I can't get that secondary. I mean, the other person can't get that patent because I already have the patent to create or do that thing. Well, guess what? I mean, that's not completely true. There are some caveats to that, of course. But what I'm saying, and this is where the media is terrible. It's terrible. We allow SpaceX to steal our technology and disguise it as them innovating something. They have innovated nothing. They didn't innovate the electric car. They didn't innovate the satellite network that you have. Before his stuff, there was iridium. There's a lot of people that tested and failed. And what he did and what these other companies do is they take what was successful and build. Look, it's important for you to get this, right? The people that innovate, they have taken most of the failure out of the innovation of any particular activity, product, or service. And then the capitalist walks off with what they have learned from everybody else not to do, and the one person that or two or four or whatever that gets it right, then they use their capital on that. The model is flawed. The model is flawed. But continuing, when a company like this is from Eric Still, when a company like SpaceX innovates, it creates entirely new industries. Yeah, but you know it is that created entirely new industries? NASA did. NASA innovated by investing in many companies to create things where they've succeeded and failed. Saturn failed, the Saturn rockets failed a whole bunch before it succeeded. Apollo failed before it succeeded. And after those technologies got seasoned, the private sector took it on. And we love that, right? We love that. We took a lot of the risk out of it so that a private sector can come out, go ahead and then do the things that market the stuff or turn it into something special for people. But as far as calling SpaceX an innovation that warrants that Elon Musk gets $1 trillion, that is grand theft. Continuing, he also says it creates entire industries. False. It's a government who did that and generates new equity value. What the hell is equity value? Let me show you how silly that statement is. Equity value? Equity in a piece of paper that doesn't have anything back in it. SpaceX is losing $4 billion per quarter. So the paper you're holding is being spread out to your 401ks and everything else. And let me tell you what's the danger of SpaceX. The SpaceX is dependent on your tax dollars. The spaceship, it's not private companies sending spaceships to the moon. It's our government sending spaceships to the moon. It's our government sending spaceships to the space station. It is our government doing the spaceship to Galileo or going the spaceship to Pluto. All that spending is taxpayer dollar. I had a very intelligent caller this morning, Jimmy. Jimmy said, Egberto, given that all of SpaceX's space programs are funded by the government, aren't we saying that the profit that SpaceX makes is actually taxpayer dollar? And I smiled and I said, I have succeeded in getting the message across. You get it. Jimmy got it. I repeat, Jimmy got it. Because every penny at this point in time that SpaceX gets to shoot rockets out is government dollars. And that means any profit that they ever start to make will be your tax dollars. But let me tell you how bad an investment it is. You know we're running a deficit right now. What do you think the government is going to cut? Do you think the government is going to say, oh, let's invest in going to Mars while the deficits keep exploding? No. Do you think they're going to say, let's keep going to the moon while the deficit keeps exploding? No. And what that means is SpaceX ultimately is a terrible investment because you are at the whims of a government that is running a huge deficit and will be cutting spending. And a good point and place to cut spending is in space exploration. So, therefore, any thinking person will have to say, you know why they want that stuff they want that stock inside of the S&P 100. Why? Because they are going to throw all that risk on all of the people who have 401ks that are in index funds of the S&P 100. Okay? So what I'm telling you folks, what I'm telling you is that $1 trillion that Elon Musk is getting is stolen money legally from you. And if you keep going on to the bandwagon about how great Musk is, that is like you praising a thief. That is like might as well go ahead and praise the pickpocket. Might as well go and praise that guy that is out there robbing a bank. Because what this guy is doing is he is ripping you off on steroids. Here's the other deal. Continuing, Eric also says, and generates new equity value. No, it has not generated new equity value at all. None whatsoever. It's an illusion. And employee shareholders wealthier, yeah, 4,000 of them became millionaires, is what I understand, for doing absolutely nothing on a racket. And if they hold that stock, they'll likely lose it all. But here's the thing. As long as we continue to allow these people to screw our minds, they will continue to do it. But I'm not upset at Republicans. I expect this out of Republicans. I expect the grand theft to occur out of Republicans. I have no doubt that that is their purpose, right? There's a class of people that they're for. But how much better are Democrats? Why aren't Democrats on top of the world talking about Elon Musk's grand theft? Why aren't they out there? This is not hard to explain. But if it's only independent media like myself and a few others putting this on the networks over and over again, I had it on Pacifica today on my morning program. I repeated it again on WBAI in New York, and trying to get people thinking about this actually harms us all. That trillion that Elon Musk has, it's not his. It's your money in more ways than one. It's your money when your taxpayer dollars go to fly those ships and buy those ships. Buy those rockets, etc. Because you're the one buying all of this stuff, okay? Not Elon Musk. American dollars are buying all this stuff. And the profit goes only to Musk and his minions who own this. We got to get this, folks. Help me get this message out. It's so important. If you don't get it, tell me so I can maybe explain it a bit better or learn how to explain it in a manner that we can all understand. Because if I'm failing to get it, first of all, let me ask you this: I want this to be an honest poll. In the chat, if you understand what I'm saying and you agree with me, please just put yes in the chat. And if you disagree with me and you think I'm absolutely wrong, please put no in the chat. If you're able to write, please do that now. I really I want to I want that bi-directional thing to see if if you're understanding me. Jason says yes. Come on, folks, vote on if you can. Yes. March KJ says yes. Come on, folks. Let me know if I'm failing. Who else? Yes. Joe totally understands. Anybody else in there that can talk? Lynette understands. Let's keep going. Let's keep. Tamara understands. Great. All of you have to be this. Have to be not disciples. What you call that stuff? Preachers on this stuff. Mr. K understands. We all have to be preachers on this stuff. What happened to my folks in the other chat? Come on, let's go. Don understands. Ziggy understands. Uh, come on, folks. Do you understand? Okay. Maywood says yes. They understand. Who thinks no? I'm looking to see who says no. But here's the deal. The most important thing that Eric said that was incorrect is he said that because the economy is always growing, that it doesn't matter that these other people get rich. That's what his message implied. And anytime somebody says that, I go ahead and put this message up on the screen. That particular point that shows how the rich is going to take up everything. That's not a fixed economy. Look at the legend. It's not a fixed economy. It's a growing economy. The only difference is in that picture is that the growth rate of the top 1% is larger, much larger than the growth rate of the rest of the country. And if there is a disparity of growth rates in a growing economy, even in a growing economy, from a mathematical standpoint, the wealthy ultimately gets it all. And it's just math. It is just math. And that is what that shows. And it's not only showing that, but we are now living that. And when I say we're living that, that is where we are. That is what we have actually, that is what the numbers are actually telling us. So this isn't conjecture anymore. This isn't just a professor saying these things. This is exactly what we're seeing in the real economy. It is what we're seeing in the real economy because a small group is growing at a much faster rate than the larger group. And the only solution to that is massive redistribution and taking back the stolen wealth that these folks have taken. There are no two ways around it. And have to stop being afraid to say we believe in redistribution because redistribution is how you get rid of the what is it called, the error, if you will, of the steady state error of a type of economy that we have. The only solution, and it's a poor solution, is redistribution. The only solution is redistribution. All right, let's talk about the kind of people that would do this kind of stuff if we could get enough of them in. Ray Brackens, come on in. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to that graphic you showed.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I think about what that represents, it enrages, it pisses me off really because, it just proves exactly what you're saying. They're trying to use their tax shelters to legislate. So, yeah,
Okay, you're
man,
saying that
that's what,
anytime you saw that chart that I put out, that it offends you.
yes, sir. So, it's basically like when you hear about Elon Musk becoming a trillionaire, that's by design because, like you say, they keep on putting their thumb on the scale. And what the American people need to understand is this is what I've been trying to do. And I was literally in the mirror at like 3 or 4 in the morning, just brainstorming. I've been telling myself, Egberto, just on a side note, that I need to just stop talking to the mirror and put the mic on and press record or live chat or whatever, because I feel like I'll be making some really good points and nobody hears them except you at some point. But here's a point I'm making. Like, they basically keep on, making it so that your paycheck is able to cover less and less of your life expenses. So that's a tax. It's not maybe a tax in the form of a government tax, But when they say it costs a lot of money to be poor, it really does, because the things that stresses out a working class or a poor person, things like if they're going to go to the emergency room, or if they're going to, have money for groceries the next week, for the elderly people, they have to wonder, when they're on this fixed income retirement and it's barely not even a four-figure salary that they're pulling in, on a monthly basis, and they have to decide, are they going to be able to cover their medication? Are they going to be able to cover, their rent for wherever they're living? And if the rent goes up, God forbid, they have to figure out if they're going to move. So it's a lot of extra trauma bear down on the working class that the wealthy class just doesn't have. And it's because ever since Reconstruction, they've been trying to figure out how to bring slavery back, and
Let me
that's
just
been
say
going
this,
on.
right? It's not about figuring out. It's been planned, and and we give it those terms. They don't use terms like that, right? Because it's not that they love slavery or anything like that. Let's not let's understand this. It's not that these people want to dominate people per se. It's that they want to be of a class that controls everything, and that can manufacture at whatever, at a low. They want all of that. The thing about it is, to attain all of that, it means you have to take the rights away from everybody else, and that's what it's all about. And and taking the rights away from everybody else means ultimately what you hear us talk about is antiseptic slavery, right? It's not the kind of slavery where you get your butt whipped or you get your nuts cut off because they want to make an example out of you, etc., etc. It's a different kind. And I tell you what I think is our saving grace, and here's what I
I
think.
want to speak to that real quick, Roberto, and
Go
just
ahead.
to your point. Yeah, antiseptic slavery, as you mentioned it, it's not the lashes and the whips in the form that we traditionally think of slavery, but the lashings in antiseptic slavery are in the form of, you know, punishment for poverty, whether it's, not being able to pay your rent, so you have to live on the street and be homeless, or not being able to afford a car, so you have to, trudge through the public transportation system to get from point A to point B. That's what, the luxuries of what the wealthy class don't have to be burdened with,
Yeah.
because they have all of those questions answered for them. But please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, 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 not at all. Let me just say this because this is so important, and the whole subject is important. And as usual, you guys have derailed my show because now both the thunderstorm and you have derailed my program for today. So we'll play this video tomorrow. Anyway, let me just say
I'm
this,
with the
folks.
real.
Let me just say this because this is important, and I want to specifically talk to my white brothers and sisters. And here's why I want to do this: because believe it or not, what this country was able to do since its inception. The country was never made for anybody but a wealthy class of white men. Nothing else. Not average white men, not white women, not anybody, not indigenous, nobody. It was made for the dominion of that class that thought they controlled everything. That's who the Constitution was written for. It was a property document, as I learned from my good friend David Cobb. Okay? Now, here's the thing, though.
Oh, that's very fun.
Here's the interesting thing. The reason they have always instituted classism, racism, and all these isms is that they know, the Powell memo knew that we would figure it out. They knew that. In fact, they started to figure it out. Look at this history of redneck. Redneck has nothing to do with like white people kind of a thing. Redneck was it's a group of people in, I don't remember what southern state, got together, and all the people were getting together, white, black, blue, everybody was getting together, and they were actually, I think they were called the rednecks or something. I don't remember. I think it was because of the red ink. I don't remember the whole story, but I learned that at a net
Yeah.
roots.
So,
Okay. Now here's the interesting thing. It happened before as well in the 1800s when the indentured servants and slaves and all these folks started to realize that they were in the same boat and they were coming together irrespective of race against the master, and they blew that up. And the same thing is happening again. And the good thing that I see today ultimately is that our white brothers and sisters are starting to get into the game. I'm not talking about the liberal elitists who were never in the game. They were in the game of, elitism. We know better. We are the moral ones, etc. I'm talking about beating the pavement and beat. I'm talking about the Neil Aquinas of the world. I'm talking about folks that are saying, "Wait a minute, we are in the same boat. We have to work together as one because we are one." And it is that system that is attacking all of us. And there we go again. We just lost power again. This time we didn't go down. This time the UPS worked, so that was a hit that we took before. Anyway, so we have to realize that all my people here, right? The goal right now, the goal right now is to simply still try to put wedges in between us. There's this meme on TikTok right now that is trying to split the black community and the Asian community. I see some others that are trying to split the Latino community and the black community. I am watching all of this on Instagram, TikTok, and all these things. So I am getting these memes, and there's this friend of the family that sent me this meme about Asians against blacks and all that kind of stuff. And I listened and I listened and I listened to what she had to say, and then I said, "Let's stop for a minute. Don't you understand what's going on here? In every group, racial or whatever group, there are haters, there are prejudiced folks, etc. In every group, no matter what. Hell, there's prejudice among black folk, intra prejudice, light skin, dark
oh
skin,
yeah,
hard hair, tough hair, middle hair, all kind of crap.
anti-trans.
Exactly. They're all, and what they're trying to do is create all this division because if you're fighting among each other on all these things, you're not fighting the master, the one who's causing the problem. So whenever I come across these things,
Yeah.
I make sure and drop a note in there. Don't take their eye off the ball. Welcome to my Asian brother. Welcome to my Asian sister. I am not going to take the eye off of the ball. My white brothers and my white sisters, my Asian brothers and my Asian sisters, all of us are in the same boat. And if you leave those memes unanswered, if you don't go in at whatever ethnicity you are and represent that meme as being a troublemaker, we're not doing our jobs. So what I'm saying, we all have to all go out there and be ambassadors to the truth, ambassadors of solving problems. Anyway, Ray, we are up against time, and I got to go. Guess who I'm interviewing next? When I get off this program, Laura Jadid. She was at the White House yesterday in listening to.
Oh,
She was at watching the NFC. The what is it called? The NFC? Yeah, UFC.
the UFC.
Yeah, she was
Oh,
out
that
there. So
shit
she's gonna
show.
have a story to tell. So I'll have it tomorrow, assuming we don't have any any whiteouts again. Anyway, so let me go ahead and close this thing down. And thank you for your call, Ray, and thank you for listening as usual, my brother.
Thank you for the time, brother. Take care.
Take care. All right, folks. I hope I look. The show got derailed in more ways than one. It got derailed because we get lost power. It got derailed because my brother Ray called in and changed the subject. But you know what is the thing about this program? All of you have the right to call in and change the subject because it's not about what I want to do. I have a lot of program to give you, but honestly, and I mean this from the depths of my heart, the way we make progress, the way we succeed, is that everybody has to know they have skin in the game. And not only do they have skin in the game, but that you have a say. And this program, Politics Done Right, I promised you, as I promised you from its inception over 15 years ago, it's not my program. It is our program. I am just a traffic cop. And when I tell you, I mean that. I try to make sure that on both programs, whether it's on KPFT or here online, that I make that well known. This is our program. Uh, this morning I did a show with Francisco Mendoza. And you know how that program got started? Another Bruce called in and said, "Hey, a friend of mine just got taken up by the migra. We need to, I need to some information." I went and I got that information for Bruce, and I did a program this morning on that. This is you all's show. Now, in that token, though, I do ask you to please support us however you can. Please become paid subscribers. I don't think getting me a coffee a month is something that's going to break all of us, but together with the amount of stuff that we put out there, we make sure and flood the zone the very best we can. And I ask you to be a part of the paying family by becoming a paid subscriber at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, or if you are already on Substack, just press that subscribe button and choose the paid option. That is how I can continue doing this, and many of us who are doing this can continue doing this. Got to get out of here. Got to go interview Laura Jadid. She was at the UFC yesterday at the White House. She actually does a panel with me on Mondays at WBAI in New York. We're going to talk with her, and I'll bring that for you tomorrow. Anyway, my dear beautiful people, love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what?